So this, I think, paints a picture of what's going on in the media presently. So this is from the Times, and it says, and you can kind of, I'll try to illustrate this, but it speaks for itself.
LA Times or New York Times?
Sorry, New York Times. Mr. Biden's announcement offered a telling split-screen counterpoint to an event being held at the same time at the White House, a vaccine summit where President Trump boasted about what he called a monumental national achievement. Now, full stop, it's a national achievement. They have a vaccine within 9 months.
It's
of
a
this
global.
pandemic.
It's a global achievement.
Yeah, well put. Because it looks as though places in Europe, England, is going to get this, maybe even before we do, based upon what an American company created. So absolutely, it is a monumental national achievement. So the fact that he's boasting about it, maybe he has a right to. Of course, the Times is probably hinting at the fact that he's just a boaster. And then it goes on, by drug companies to develop a vaccine for the virus in about 9 months. He did not address the growing death toll or the devastation across the country, because we cannot celebrate something that's good ever under Trump. But he used the occasion to suggest yet again, and without evidence, that people had tried to steal the election. Meanwhile, the next administration was clearly taking shape. So it's very obvious, anybody with a brain that reads that is one heck of a biased reporter who has a very sour opinion of Trump and very good of Biden, and it's editorialized completely. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Stephen Glass, but I think you'd really love to watch the movie. If you haven't seen, have you seen the movie?
I've not.
You should watch the movie called Shattered Glass with Steve. It's this movie about Stephen Glass, and he got in a ton of trouble for lying, and it passed through his editor, because he was a trusted reporter. And now I think that they've killed every single editor in every single paper across the nation, because editors no longer fact check anything
exactly
anymore.
right.
It's all opinion, almost entirely. And this is obviously slanted.
Well, it happened to us this week. New York Times was reporting incorrect data and listed Cleveland, Tennessee as the second most pending hotspot. Ironically, Athens, Tennessee, was up there too. And they took data. They took our city population on the back of my business card. City population versus our current active cases is not correct. You have to take the full county. We report COVID in Tennessee by county. There is no city count.
Yeah.
So to list Cleveland, Tennessee in the New York Times just this very week. So our county mayors responded to it. I've responded to it.
I'm sure that response will get printed.
Well, yeah, and again, it's incredibly biased, but I'll make all my Republican friends mad. Trump did not help himself by constantly tweeting out rather unusual things, usually at very odd hours of the night and morning. Agree. And so he allowed the media, you said New York Times obviously leaning towards his boastfulness. Had he not been boastful by nature, that editorialization would never have flown.
I think, that's fair.
It would have made no sense. And so I constantly asked my friends who had the ability to communicate to President Trump if he would just tone it down. I mean, I have to tell my kids.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Yeah, you can't do that just because Trump did.
Yeah.
So I think there's enough blame to go around. I wish that he had not been so boastful, but you're right. The New York Times, in printing that article, it is 1,000% totally biased. But even here in Cleveland, that happens. What we have become is a society with really no bounds. There is no longer, well, what if that is wrong? There used to be, I remember that wonderful movie with Katharine Graham in the Washington Post, and was talking about the Nixon, and Tom Hanks was in it, and it was just this wonderful sort of documentary of the Washington Post and Katharine Graham, and they really did. We can't print this until we know it's true.
Yeah.
And that's gone.
Yeah.
That is, whether it's on your phone or your iPad or however you're receiving your news, you can just scroll down Apple News, and some of the headlines are just crazy. And it's not just here. I see it in Europe and other places, and I wish that we had gone or could go back to a little bit more of a journalism integrity society. I am part of the political realm, and I wish that we had more political integrity.
Sure.
So in the same sense of I wish President Trump had not behaved the way he did on social media, I wished all elected officials would not behave the way they do on social media.
Yeah.
Part of the whole Nashville, when I was declared a moderate because I was friends with the governor, which is not a bad thing. I think it's kind of what we're supposed to do, is reach across the aisle
You would think, yeah.
and make friends. We actually had Republicans going after Republicans. It was crazy. It was self-inflicted gunshot wounds in our own party. And so that's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother day. But
Sure.
it's it's part of their systemic problem. Our systems are broken.
Yeah.
We are all human. We are all flawed, but we have allowed so much to go so low. My son is now 28. So many, many years ago, I was waiting in the car line at Cleveland Middle School, and the headline on the radio, not the iPhone back then, this was 2006, maybe 5, was Britney Spears' baby sister was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And they were really almost joyful. And I remember waiting in line for my middle school son to come out, and this headline came across the radio, and by the time my son got to the car, I was in tears. I had turned off the radio, and Zach was like, "Dad, what in the world?" And I was like, "Buddy, I'm just so sorry for the world you're going to have to live in. You're not even a teenager yet. You haven't even begun the development that you're going to go through. And the world is already in such a terrible state that we're thrilled that a very young teenage girl is having a child out of wedlock." And I said, I'm praying for you, son. And that was, again, a lifetime ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not gotten any better. And so I was thrilled when I was given the chance to come back home and try to make my hometown a better place. And that's for the kids. That's for the elderly. That's for all communities of all races. Cleveland is incredibly diverse, far more diverse than people realize. Very large Latino population, exploding Ukrainian population.
Yeah,
there's just so many subgroups within our small town. The church has a lot to do with it. A very global, international. When the tornadoes hit in Easter, I was thrilled at the Ukrainian churches on the east side of Cleveland that enveloped into their neighborhoods with this incredible giving back to the neighbors that gave them so much, gave them a chance when they first came to America. And I was like, this is Cleveland.
Catch new episodes of Indiethinker with Reed Uberman for free right now by going to YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Simply type Indiethinker with Reed Uberman in the search bar and click on my face. Don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe to stay informed when a new episode drops.